Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of our weekly DungeonFog community stream. My name is Till. I'm the founder of DungeonFog and I'm here to talk about recent updates in the past week, things that are happening, and answering questions if you have any. So if you want to ask a question or bring up a question to my attention, please don't forget to put a big question in front of it when entering it into the text so I do not miss it. Yeah, with that said, let's dive into our DungeonFog news and updates for this week. For those of you who have received the newsletter already, for those of you who have been on Discord, you already know. Today we have put the first implementation of the text tool live. So with today, you can now, if you go into DungeonFog and you create a V5 map, you can now add text labels to your maps. And this is just the beginning, because we wanted to make sure that we do a first minimal viable implementation now, and once we see that it is working and it's not causing bugs or major issues, we will then slowly start to add more and more features to the text tool, because we still have a few ideas of what we can do with that. There's a little warning. Because we had to change for the text tool and for the update and the patch things that we've released today, we had to change the way that we are caching files. And Forecaster just said in a few months, DungeonFog will be the best text editor ever. Maybe. We will see. Because we had to change a few things, make sure that you clear your cache. Do a deep reload on the DungeonFog editor, especially when you're seeing an error message coming up when opening a map. This is a good indication that you did not clear your cache, that you did not do a deep reload. Don't worry about that. Just do, I think it's, let me see, it's Control F5 or Command Shift R, and that will deep reload the browser, which means that everything that was stored in the cache will be replaced with the new cached versions that you need to run the text editor and V5 maps in DungeonFog as of today. Hi from Poland, hi from Austria, welcome. So let's have a quick look at the text tool. Let's see what you can do with it. Let's play around a little bit with it. I've already started messing with it, and I will give you a brief rundown of where you can find the text tool, how you can use it. There's going to be an help desk article being released later this week, and also our beloved friend Guy Sklenders is going to do a tutorial on the text tool once he has time for that. So I would say expect a tutorial video on the text tool within the next 2 weeks. Okie doke. So let's get things started. There you go. This is just a map that I load up, and here you can see that we have something. And again, I was just playing around with it. I will show you in a minute how I made that one. The first thing is you're going to notice that there is now a new tool called Insert Text, which is the text tool. So what you can do with that is you click on that and then you enter text, like let's say jungle map for this one. And you can take that, and the second you move your mouse over the map itself, you will see that the preview is attached to your mouse cursor. So I can now go wherever I like. I can now go and place it here. And that's it. If you didn't do any major adjustments to the text tool in the first place, you can always select it, and then you can start changing things up. So looking at the panel here, we can change the text color. So let's do that in a nice dark jungle map green. This is not going to be very visible at the moment, so we're going to have to do some more things here. I can choose the alignment, so I can say left aligned, center aligned, or right aligned. This is especially helpful if you're doing a multiple line text here. Let's stick with center aligned for now. Here we can pick the font family. And here's an important thing to you. We are running a survey, or we are asking for font submissions on our Discord server. So if you don't know our Discord server, Lars has posted it just here in the chat. And it's basically dungeonfog.com/discord, and then you can sign up to our Discord server. Once you've accepted the rules to our server, you will find a font submission channel. And there we are asking for font submissions. The fonts you're currently seeing implemented were basically a staff pick that we did for testing. And we will keep the font submission, we will keep it constantly open. But for us, we said until the end of next week, until Tuesday next week, which is our mapping it out next week, we will still collect your font submissions and you can vote on the fonts. And then we will do a staff pick from the top votes that you've put there, and we will then add them here into the thing. Later down the road, we will still keep looking at that. So whenever you find a cool font, post it into our submission channel, and we will make sure that with one of the patches, we're going to implement that font. We have a lot of ideas of how we can make the font management even more user-friendly, but we didn't want to spend too much time on doing font library integrations here with thousands of fonts, because we just wanted to make sure that you have the essentials right now. So expect more with fonts later down the road. For now, take part in our font submissions on the Discord channel font submission. And next week we will then implement your top favorite picks there into this list. So here we can now decide on a specific font, and I would say I will go for the Aztec Empire for now. It's still not very good visibly here, so let's ramp up the font size. By the way, I could do, if I would have more options here, I could pick a font variant. For this font, which was, by the way, brought to you by Michaela Grazzini, she did the Fonticon Kickstarter campaign last year, and this is one of the fonts that she has created. So if you like the font, if you want to use the font yourself outside of DungeonFog, I highly recommend to go and check out Fonticon by Michaela Grazzini. There's a website for that. She also did Symbolicon, a library of symbols, and they are currently in the process of finding their way in here as well. There's just a few technicalities that we need to sort out in terms of how can we use the glyph table and how can we make that accessible for you. But I would say that soon, that's the best I can say at the moment, you will have access to the glyph tables here as well, and you can combine fonts with glyphs here. Sorry, Paint. That was your time is up for map texting. Yes. Coming back to here, I cannot pick a font variant because this is the only font variant that we have right now, but I can change the size, and let's ramp this up to 50. Now it's still two things. First of all, it looks like it's being hidden by those trees. We will investigate why this is happening. And second, it's still not very much visible here at the moment. So I will activate the border for the font. Now I can pick a color for the border, and I would say I'm going for white. Yeah, probably. But I think the border is too thick. So I can adjust the border thickness, and I will go down to 4 probably here. Okay, no, 4 is terrible. 6. Yeah, probably. I still think that the bordered color is not good. Um, yes, we will talk about the fact that it is hidden by trees in a second. Um, Let me just quickly see if I can. No, 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 no. Well, I feel like I should stick with white. Um, okay. But we could also activate drop shadows so it has a little shadow now on the map as well. The reason why this text is hidden behind the palm tree, although it is really cool and we're going to leave it that way, just a quick explanation, is because we have that switch above walls. Now, above walls kind of creates a separate list for things that should be rendered on top. In our case, by the way, this should probably find into the next update, should be named jungle map. Okay, so our text here, oh no, I forgot to hit enter, jungle map, enter. Okay, so our text label here is not set above walls, but if we select the tree here, or my tree group, then we will see that the tree is above walls. So even if I start sorting those things, the above walls switch is kind of reprioritizing what to render first. So if I want that to be on top of everything, I have to set it above walls too. And now there it is. Now I can still kind of figure out where in all the above walls objects I want to sort things. But if I want to keep it the way it was before, I would just deactivate the above walls, and now we have this little effect. Let's come back to the settings that we have. There's going to be a little update to that later down the road because right now, every text element that you place on the map technically acts like a prop. So I could say that this text needs a key, or is concealed, or is trapped. And that doesn't really make sense unless you start to differ between, is that a map decorational object or is it a map object? Because you might use the glyphs later down the road, or you might use special symbols to create graffiti on the floor, to write text on the floor that is really part of the map, something that the players discover. Whereas the map label itself most likely should be something that you only want to have if you create a map version for one of your campaigns or for yourself or as a player handout. Exactly. So basically, do we want the text label to be part of the map, or do we want to be it to be metadata? And we're already working on something that is going to resolve that. For now, we just said, okay, we will leave it like that, which also means that if you want to export that map for your players, you need to set those things on concealed before exporting. Otherwise, it will be part of the map that you're creating. We could mirror. We can also, like if I go in there and I press Control Shift and mouse wheel, I can scale it up or down, because now it's getting really big. If I'm just pressing Shift, I can rotate. And I can also use the mirror options to mirror it in any direction I would like. So this is basic handling of the text tool. It follows the same rules as any prop in DungeonFog. There's not much to add for now. Now, if you look closely, because of the way that we are integrating that into the map itself, you can do some weird things, like for example, this one, which is, how did I do that? Kind of over the prop and under the prop. Now I cheated very much here, because if you look very closely, you will see that there is one text that is beneath the prop, and then there's one text that is over the prop. And if I combine them, oh, there you go, goodbye prop. And if you combine them, you can create an effect like that. In terms of font types, again, let's just see what we have. So this is Roboto. As you can see here, we have the Alchemy. Maybe can I make this a little bit bigger? Okay, so this is another font by Michela Grazzini. This is the Alchemy as esoteric. Ah, that one is a nice one. Andy added that one. This is Attack Graffiti. I'm going to use that in a few of my cyberpunk maps. It's also very nice to kind of use it to, for example, mark. So this is going to be concealed, but it's going to be red. And it spells spike trap. Whoop-a-doop. So adding a few GM nodes like that, I think this is a great trap font. There might be more, we will see. And sorry, I scaled down my interface here. Let's add another one because that one we're going to leave there. So this is the Attack Graffiti. Aztec Empire, you've already seen that one. Celtic Druid, also a very nice one. And now I believe we're going into the fonts that are part of the Google font library. Oh yeah, thank you for that. Oh, come on. Sorry, are you still there? Am I still there? Suddenly something started to install in the backend. This is Tinsel, decorative. Then we have Hobbiton, so a very, we all know, Lord of the Rings map. There was a question here. It wasn't posted as question before, so I'm just now seeing it. Can you import your own PNG or JPEG images and paint or use them in this application? You can import your own assets. I would recommend using PNG because of the transparency. And then you can colorize them. Yes. So the current map, because I'm just seeing the questions here, and Stephen Waters says, I feel like doing a map like this in my browser would be like, nope. So this map is 25 by 25 pixels with a, I believe, 70 pixels grid. Let me just check. Yes. Which is kind of in the realms of what this software is optimized for. So browser RAM and performance should still be kind of stable in that area. What did I say? Did I say pixels? I'm sorry. I meant 25 by 25 tiles, grids, with 70 pixels each tile. Right, so this is our Lord of the Rings font. I believe this is probably another one by Michaela. I'm not 100% certain. Lovecraftian. This is definitely one of Michaela's fonts. Orbitron. That is a Google font. And there you can see, by the way, there you have now font variants. So I could go and say extra bold. And now I have a very sci-fi-ish font here to label my starships or star bases. Parisienne. So if you want handwriting, this is a handwriting font here. Roboto, we already had that. This is our default font. Slavian Ustav, probably also by Michaela. And Viking Norse, also by Michaela. So there you see. This is the fonts. Those are the fonts that we currently have, but this is not the end of it. Next week we're going to add a bunch of new fonts that you vote on Discord, and then we will continuously ask for ideas, and you can submit them, and we will constantly add them up to the point where we feel like having a good way to integrate a full-fledged font library with hundreds of fonts. Right. That's the text tool. That's basically it. Did I miss something? Did I forget about something? I can't really think of anything. We will see. Oh, yeah, I did. Sorry, my apologies. This also affects the way that we address room labels and tokens. I foresee many up-close desk map with bespoke parchment clues for code breaking in my player's future. I feel like with that in place and the things that Tony is currently creating for you, I might be using DungeonFog to create some pretty neat player handouts as well, that have nothing to do with maps. Right, room labels and token names. That's exactly what I was going to address next. So if we are creating a room here, when we are creating a room here, come on. Selecting the room allows me to enter a room number, which could be, I don't know, 1. And the room name. Room. So there's one thing to keep in mind. We initially concepted this whole thing to have the room name. It will be. Thursday's Madness stream will be interesting. It will be. It's probably not going to be this week, because this week I want to prep a map for Orkenspalt TV. But we're going to do a few player handouts once the symbols are in. And there we have a question. Dragon of PUG asks, how is the text tool interacting with the mid-light? Is the light source following the text shape? And the answer is yes. So the text tool interacts with the lighting. So you can cast lighting on the text. And I've never tested it, to be honest. I don't know if it's also casting shadows. No. So there's no shadow option that says cast shadow. But you can see that you can set the label to being a non-light receiver, a flat light receiver, and a flat light receiver with no prop shadows. And if we find the time, we will look at that in a minute. Coming back to the room number and room label. So the room number for now, and this is going to change later down the road as well, the room label here is just for naming the room, so you can find it in your list, in your layer list. The room number, this field here, also gets outputted for you as a game master, and you can toggle whether or not you want to show this on export. So what I could do is I could say that this is I can type whatever I want in there. I could say old shrine, and it's going to do this here, although this is a room number. So we hacked a little bit around that in the first days of DungeonFog, and then we left it like that, because back then this was the only way to label maps. Now we can label maps properly, and now we're going to slowly address that in the next upcoming updates. So I can shift that around wherever I like. And now, as you can see, I have also activated, once I filled that, I've activated the label settings, which allow me to pick, again, let's go for the Aztec Empire, and we can pick a text color, and we can pick a background color. Let's do something like this. And again, this one, the label itself, as long as the room is selected, I can move that wherever I like. So I could move it outside of the room, and it would still be a label that is assigned to the specific room. So that is the one thing that you can do. You can also create room labels. It's a little bit hacky at the moment. We can live with that. Yes, it moves with the room as well. Thank you, Forecaster, which means that if I go, if I go and move the room, it moves alongside with the room. The next thing I want to show you is tokens. If I create a new token, here I have a little centipede that I have. This centipede, by the way, is from Keora. This is from Keora's token hoard. If you don't know about that, go to Keora.com, check it out. It is an amazing tool. Keora has created a free token hoard where you can filter by alignment, CR rating, all those things, and get all the little tokens that he has created for those specific creatures. It's quite extensive, and I have used it for one of my games, and that's why there's still a custom upload here, which is that one. Yes, link is going to come. It's Keora.com, and I'm pretty sure Lars is already Googling it and posting it here in a second. So the definition of a token is basically something that is not map related, but that is player related. So that players can move the token. So this could be an NPC that you control. This could be a player token that your players control. And thank you, Forecaster. And what else? This could be a monster. And usually this is how tokens look in DungeonFog usually. So they have the border enabled, and there you can define a border color and a background color. And with one of the recent updates we did in January, we have now brought to you that switch, so you can now deactivate that circular border around it, so you can directly use a token without having the DungeonFog border around it. And I can also name that one, and I could say centipede. I hope I'm writing it correctly. And if I place it down, you will see that it has the same token, that it has a label. And now I can go in and change the token label as well. So again, in a bordered state, this is how it would look. Let's make it bigger for now. So this will be a giant centipede now, because now it has a grid size of 2. And if I deactivate that, I will still have the little label, and I could go in and change the font family for that. Let's make that. Oh, no one can read that. Something like that. Font size, let's increase that a little bit. Let's make that 24. And I can again pick a text color, and this is an enemy, so I'm going to make it like that and like that. 24 might be a little bit too big. 18. Okay. So this is also now in DungeonFog with the text tool. You can now label your maps and you can now label your tokens using the same font libraries that we have integrated. Over the next couple of updates, again, we're going to address more and more things. So we will make sure that all of that is reflected in the GM nodes. So you might want to add map labels to your GM nodes. You might want to probably change the way that those labels look. And Tony, our artist, is currently working on decorational elements that work quite nice with those labels, like compass roses, like plates, name plates that you want to put up, corner decoration elements that you want to put on the map. What else? Yeah, distance meters. Can we change groups of tokens? No, currently you just change token by token. At least it's not a human centipede. Yes, that's true. We're very happy that this is not a human centipede. By the way, I have declined, rejected. I ran away whenever someone offered me to watch that film because that is nope. Yes, so if you have set that one, I can go in and if I say, okay, now there are 4 centipedes attacking, all I need to do is I just duplicate and they get numbered. So now I have, sorry, I said 4. So now I have 4 centipedes in here. Right. I believe that's the text tool. Again, we have released this to you today. We are going to update our help desk soon, so you will find help desk articles on everything I have said here and shown today. Guy is going to do a tutorial on that in the next weeks, so you will also find a DungeonFog tutorial on all of that soon on our YouTube channel. What else happened this week? There you go. Lars has just posted it. We have a survey that is currently active. It's our roadmap survey where we ask you what you would like to see next. Not everything on that survey is free for you to choose. We have chosen a few things that we know that we need to address, but we have made 4, basically 3 features and 1 for like a control question where we just ask, what would you like us to be working on after this? The link to the survey is still open until, man, I just said it in the meeting. I think it's the 26th. Yes, February 26th. There you go. Then we will close it, and in the next stream, that is then the week after, it's Tuesday. So this is Friday the 26th, and on Tuesday, I will then discuss with you how the polling went and what you are telling us to do next. Keep in mind, this is DungeonFog Online Battle Map related. This is not Days related. Days is a completely different development stream that we're working on. So the survey is on the battle map tools, and for Days there will be surveys coming up once we are ready. If you want to know where we are with Days at the moment, don't forget to tune in next week, same time as today. because next week we're going to have the next mapping it out. And I can already say I have some great news on that. I'm very much looking forward to show you where we are, and we will talk Deus in very much all the details that I can next Tuesday. So, right. What's happening in the background at the moment is we're, I would say, about 90% finished with the marketplace. So Herbert has finished all the API hooks. As we speak, I just saw the chat in Discord, the internal dev chat. Andy is already integrating into the editor. And I believe that starting with next week, we will go into internal testing for the marketplace, which will not be for you yet. This is going to be just us testing the features. And Kiora is going to be part of the internal testing. Guy Sklenders is going to be part of the internal testing, and our moderators will be part of the internal testing. So we have a little control group that we're testing with. Oh, Floki, it's great to be excited as I am. I'm happy that I can share the excitement. So I would say around depending on how the internal testing goes, we've already said, you can see it in the roadmap. The news item that we've posted today also contains the roadmap. And there you will see that by the end of Q1, we will have the marketplace in beta testing available for you. And we're pretty much on track with that. So I'm convinced that there is going to be a marketplace soon, which means at least at the end of Q1 we will have it finished and we will make it publicly available. And then I will, once we are there, then I will talk in more details about what the marketplace means, how it works, what our next steps are in regards to that. But I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. And apart from, I think, a few minor database adjustments and a little polishing here and there, we're also almost ready. Andy now needs to integrate the marketplace output. So the assets that you have bought through the marketplace, they need to be integrated in the editor. That's what he's currently working on. And once he's done with that, plus some text updates that we want to integrate, he will then switch over and start working on the room templates, because those we want to be finished in the first quarter of this year as well. And for the second quarter, then we have the polling that is currently going on. Okay. Yes, mid-March is also my estimate for Deus. And again, there's a lot more that I can talk about next week. But it's, again, as of today, it's looking quite promising. But I don't want to, don't start that. I'm so bad at keeping secrets. Don't tease me. I want to keep those things for next week. Right. Let me just quickly look at the things that we've posted. Let's see. There were some general fixes. So resizing brush tips has been changed. So that is something that we have to get used to. When you have a brush tip, using Control Shift and mouse wheel instead of just Shift and mouse wheel. Now it follows the same rules as everything in DungeonFog, because Control Shift is always resize. Yeah, a dark cloak. I should get a dark cloak. Probably I should just wear glasses, like sunglasses. You know, that's mysterious too. So Control Shift mouse wheel is now one of the changes that we've implemented in the recent build. And that is just for the consistency of resizing across all tools. Um, I don't have a room group here, but you can now, with the latest patch that we've deployed today, you can now hide and unhide complete room groups as well. Then there is another entry on the wall segment, creates an undo change, triggers map save. Yeah, so manually changing the radius of a wall segment now creates an undo change for that. So there's an undo stack created. So if you have a round wall segment like this one, circle, this is now undoable. Let's see if that is true. Yes, it is. And it's also creating an autosave when you make rounded walls. And there was a bug that lost the radius on that map, on that circle, and that is fixed as well. And then there was a bug where objects would not cast a shadow if it shares the same X or Y axis of the light source, which is now fixed as well, apparently. Um, Frankie Liga said, I'm new to DungeonFog. Are there good tutorials, documentations I can find? Yes, Lars has already posted this. We have a huge collection of YouTube tutorials. The newer ones, the V5 ones and the newer ones, all moderated and presented by Guy Sklenders, the How to Be a Great GM. Which are amazing because he not only does a short tutorial on the tool, but he sneakily always brings little advice in from how he's using that tool, which I love. And if you log into DungeonFog, you will find that we have a help desk section in our menu, and there you can find everything documented. It's still growing. We're revisiting that to make sure that all the tools are documented in our help desk. And there are some how-tos for tricks and tips on how to use those tools. Yes, we've been playing catch up with all the things that we've released for quite some time, but now we're slowly getting there. Um, and just as a short anecdote, by starting this year, we had a meeting with the team and with Guy, where we said, okay, what are we going to do this year? And someone brought up and said, well, we could do a UI update. And Guy was like, wait, then I have to do all the tutorials again. Oh, no, 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 no. So, because the tutorials are great, and because we know that the UI needs to be updated, we've said, okay, UI update is something that we're going to tackle big time next year. We're not going to tackle it this year, so that at least Guy doesn't feel like he's creating a tutorial and 3 months later, all the tutorials are useless because we've decided that we changed the colors. Bodhi says, wasn't me. No, Bodhi, that wasn't you. Um, so, wow, where did the time go? Um, are there any questions left? Is there anything that you want to ask for today? How can you support DungeonFog more? Well, join our Discord community, help our community members if you have any questions, if they have any questions, help with advice, share the word around. If you know game masters who are still looking for a tool, a recommendation is always appreciated. And what we rarely see, and I'm really happy if we get those, I'm always excited if I see one, are the the Facebook ratings where people recommend or rate us on Facebook. Um, so that's how you can support us. But mainly This is a community tool. Join us on Discord, help the others. That is very much appreciated. So, Forecaster says we are working on something related to that, perhaps, right, Till? What are you talking about? Give me a hint. I have no idea what you mean. Um, is this application easy to use or integrate? Oh, the beanie thing. Oh no, was there another beanie joke? Oh, well. um, uh, got you. Okay. Um, so wait, there was another question. Is this application easy to use or integrate with any other applications, or is it standalone? So what you're looking at the moment is browser-based, and there is an integration which I just used last Friday to test it. You can export those maps to directly, with the whole setup already being done in Foundry VTT, which is amazing because I exported, I don't know, it took me 20 minutes. I exported 12 maps and I just dropped them into Foundry, and all the dynamic light walls are set, so everything is already preset. Um, Foundry VTT is a virtual tabletop that is, I must say, I was so impressed using it. I basically just wanted to use it to test how the integration works. And then we ended up playing for about 8 hours in Foundry. And whenever my party decided to go somewhere that I hadn't prepped the map, I just exported one quickly in DungeonFog, dropped it in, and it was there. It was set. And it's amazing. It's a really cool tool. So if you're looking for something for a VTT, um, because you might be unsatisfied with VTTs that are out there, I can only recommend Foundry. It's really an amazing one. Apart from that, when it comes to integrations, we are also working, and it's slowly getting into the realms of where we really want to tackle those things, because we are going to address our GM nodes this year. We're going to rework the GM nodes tool. There's going to be an integration with World Anvil in the DungeonFog online editor, and then in Deus, apparently, there is going to be integration there as well. Can I think of something else? No, no. Well, GM Binder, there's going to be an integration, but that is later down the road. That's probably next year. Um, and in terms of virtual tabletops, we are looking at other VTTs that we want to integrate with. We will just have to kind of get in touch with them and talk about details. So, if you're asking us if there are any ambitions to turn DungeonFog or Deus into a full VTT in the future, I would say the emphasis lies on in the future, because right now our ambitions are to make the DungeonFog, the online battle map editor, an amazing tool, a great tool, something that everyone can use, and then our focus is to finish Deus and move that one forward, because our world map editing and battle map editing and city map editing and space map editing has our highest priority. And once we're done with that, we will see. Yes, that's all I will say. Thank you, Floki. He said he will rate us on Facebook, and he will try to be more active on Discord, which again is very much appreciated. Um, we're slowly transitioning into questions about Deus, which will be part of our mapping it out next week. So I will answer, Frankie, I will answer your question. If you don't have more DungeonFog related or battle map related questions, then we will keep the rest of the day's questions for next week. Days is going to replace DungeonFog in some regards, and in some regards, they will stay separate. So it is part of Deus is that as a desktop application, the whole feature set of DungeonFog, the battle map editor, is integrated in Deus as well, which means that there is the online editor for Deus and there is going to be the desktop application editor for Deus. Battle maps. And I think this is answering that question. So if you for example if you decide to pre-order Deus now, and you're wondering whether or not this will include a battle map editor, the whole functionality that is currently in the online battle map editor will be then in the desktop application as well. Buttington III asks, would you be able to use the maps offline like with other programs like Fantasy Grounds and Roll20? Yes, of course. You can export a map and you can export it as a PNG, as a JPEG, as a PDF, or as a multi-page PDF. And you can even start and create little tiles of that map so that if you have a big map, and for example, Roll20 that has an upload limit, I can't remember, I think it's somewhere around 5 megabytes per image. You could slice your map into smaller chunks to then upload them as single tiles that auto fit together when you import them. The only problem, for example, with Roll20 is that with the current way that Roll20 integrates, it is really difficult to get a script running that automatically draws the dynamic light borders, like the dynamic walls. So importing them as images is perfectly fine. Having such a smooth integration like with Foundry VTT is something that is work in progress for us. Right. Okay. Expand a bit on what the campaign UI plans include. Sure, I can. We can. So the thing is, when you're running campaigns, DungeonFog has a Fog of War version integrated as well, which is kind of a viewer. We're saying it's not a VTT. It's something that you can use to show a Fog of War version to your players. And because of all the things that we've added over the last probably 16 months, the UI has become a little bit chunky and very click intense. If you want to switch a map, you have to click a few buttons to really switch to that map, and then you have to bring all the tokens to the new map. So we're going to revisit the way that our user interface in the campaign section works, and we're going to ask ourselves, how can we improve that? How can we make it easier for the GM to quickly change maps, to quickly change, like to quickly move tokens, assign tokens to viewports, things like that? And how can we improve the general user experience and feeling of how you are interacting with those campaigns? So, because Buttington III asks, how would line of sight for each character on the map work? Right now, you can assign, that is one of the campaign updates that we just recently did in January. You can now assign, you can now take a viewport and assign it to a player. So that if the player moves his token, the viewport follows the token. What's not happening at the moment is that the Fog of War is restricted to that token, because that's just not part of what we did before. So one of the things that we might want to investigate is how can we make it that the viewport of the specific player is having a player-specific fog of war, for example, because right now you can already assign a viewport to a specific player, and that player now can also, they already have the permissions, or you can set the permissions so that the player can move his own token or her own token. But having the fog of war also reflect that is something that might be part of the campaign UI rework. Yeah, you're welcome. Happy. That's why I'm here. I would also say that is now last chance to ask a question because we're closing the hour here, and I'm really happy of your participation. Thank you very much. There were great questions today. So last chance, if you have a question, post it. Next week, so this Thursday, by the way, if you have map related questions, this Thursday starting at 7:30 p.m. UTC, so half an hour later than this stream just started, we're going to do another Welcome to the Mapness, which is my weekly mapping stream where I'm building a map. We're most likely going to build, let me think, do I need a map for my next game? No, I don't. So we're going to build a little village. Something that I have never done before. I've never made a village map in DungeonFog. Thank you very much. Woof. 1979, which is my birth year. And now I've completely lost my train of thoughts. Yes, so we're going to build a village map. If you have any questions that are DungeonFog related, map related, if you want me to show you something where you say, oh, I've never really figured out how to do this or that, join me next Thursday, this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. UTC, and we will build a map there together. And then if you are keen to know more about what's coming in Deus, in 7 days, Tuesday next week, is our mapping it out with our lovely host Guy Sklenders, who is going to interview me about the recent updates on everything that is DungeonFog related. I'm just sorry, I'm browsing the chat. Chat is active. When is the next Deus download probably going to be available? Any ideas yet? That has been answered today. The next Deus download will be most likely mid-March. And more details about that is going to be next week. Because WUF asks, this is not just a map drawing tool, right? It is mainly a map drawing tool. It has features to write notes for your maps, and it has some options to take this map and show a Fog of War version to your players. I think one of the strengths of those is if you don't really need a VTT with dice rolling and character sheets, if you're managing that aside outside of DungeonFog, if you can manage that outside of DungeonFog, then one of the big advantages is you can live draw very easily. So you can, while your players are on the map, you can easily add and redecorate and change things on the map to reflect whatever your players are doing. With all the features that DungeonFog offers, which is quite impressive when you think about having a live version of the map that you have created and you can still work with that. We've been talking about virtual tabletops, WUF, because again, we are not a virtual tabletop, but we have a partner that is Foundry VTT. We are offering direct integrations or almost direct integrations into that, so that you can take your maps and quickly bring them in Foundry. And I just said in the early beginning of the stream that I had the opportunity to test that in a full game last Friday, and I was amazed by that tool. So Foundry has won my personal ranking of VTTs out there, and I'm safe to say that, even though DungeonFog is offering views, because DungeonFog is not a VTT. So, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being so awesome. Join us on Discord. Go to Facebook and leave a review there. Go to YouTube, leave us a like. We will see each other next Thursday. And with that said, all I can say is thank you very much and happy map making.